Welcome to the Maven Marketing Podcast. Today is Maven Monday. I'm your host, Brandon Welch, and I'm joined by Caleb Suntan Agee.
Hey, hit the beach last week with
He's got the beach.
with the kids.
It looks like SPF 30 treatment all over you.
Looks like I've been kissed by the sun.
You have been kissed by the sun. His whole body.
Body been
That's
kissed.
how John Mayer would say it. Body.
Body.
Yeah.
I think that's a who's that?
It's a Family Guy. It's a Family Guy
okay.
thing.
All right.
Batty.
I
That's
was
how he would say
actually
it. You better be okay with it. Yeah.
I was actually going with the singer.
Oh, Batty? Batty's the
Never
one
mind.
name?
No,
I don't know. Seal? I don't know. Who
Seal.
knows? Hey, this is the place where we help you eliminate waste in advertising, grow your business, and achieve the big dream. And we all know big dreams all start at the search engine, right? Wrong. But it does have a lot to do with it,
That's
right?
where dreams are made or broken.
Yeah, they're going to be broken, I got to tell you. Hey, SEO is changing. And we've been fielding questions for this and building strategies for the last, year or two, but it's really hit the road the last few months. And for whatever reason, peak, literally like April and May of 2025 was the peak of like, I think everybody I encountered was like, how do you rank on, you know, on GPT? And I'm seeing my competitors and customers, customers use it, competitors rank there. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't there. So how do we do that? And we have a 9-part answer for you today. And if you do even a handful of these things, you are going to be miles ahead of the game. We don't need to sit here and, belabor the point that AI is taking over. AI is rapid adoption more than any technology, like faster than by 10 to 15 times than the average technology adoption curve. If you think of like iPhones and good old fashioned Google, this is happening in months, not years. And we have the master. Caleb has long been the SEO architect at Frank and Maven. And so I'm going to throw things up and he's going to actually bring some technical...
Knock him out of the park.
Knock him out of the park.
That's
I'm going
right.
to toss it up. He's going to knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
But today you're going to leave with 9 things you can be doing to have a fighting chance and actually a huge competitive advantage, because I bet if you are one of the owner-operated companies we love to serve, your competitors probably aren't doing this.
Yeah. And this whole world is new. So we're going to open with a caveat of saying what we say today will probably change in 6 months, and it'll definitely change in a year. The basics of what we're talking about, the principles here, I think they will apply long-term. They're not going to go away. We're not going on any like super basic nerdy piece that will be outdated or outmoded, in a very short time. But
100%.
The nuances of all of these, how much one thing helps versus another thing, will shift and change, just like we've seen Google algorithms change over the time. It's all new, and everybody's trying to get their legs about them. Fun thing. The going names are GEO, which stands for Generative Engine Optimization. So generative means an AI is a generative engine, or I like AIO, but it sounds like Old MacDonald has a
EIO
has a farm. So
whatever you are EOing, we have an answer for it, because here's why it doesn't change. Here's why this podcast will actually be relevant in 10 years from now. You heard it here. What is the big idea? What has Google always been trying to do?
Serve the searcher.
Serve the searcher.
The answer to their question.
They've always been trying to be more human. They've always been trying to deliver you the best answers, or else you won't use that. You'll use something else, right? And so all of the technical stuff, there's over 200 little tiny parts of like a search engine algorithm. All of those were never designed so that you could hack them and like make some magic, answer to their invisible problem. It was all that was their best guess, and that was their best way to sort out all the billions of pieces of data on the internet in a ranking fashion that they had a pretty good confidence they were giving you the best result. Well, the same underlying principle is true for AI. It's just way dadgum smarter. It's just way smarter, way faster, and it's more intelligent and able to regurgitate information in the way we actually want to see it. So it's kind of like SEO as it's always been on steroids.
Yep.
And so the people that were really good at SEO are probably already miles ahead. But there are some very specific things that AI is not looking at as much that you can control, frankly, faster and better than you could have on SEO, and that's what gives you the advantage, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
Well, let's talk about some stats on AI real quick to just drive the point home.
I've got a stat.
Bring it on.
79% of people have used generative AI to find answers instead of a traditional search engine. Generative AI, let's just be clear, that's your GPTs, that's your Geminis, that's your Google AI overviews. Generative AI means it can take big pieces of information and then summarize its own version of that. It can make up things that weren't previously written because it has the code of human language.
It's not necessarily direct quoting you, right? A Google search engine pulls up a snippet of your web page, typically, or a page from your website, and even in the meta description, it might highlight. I don't know if you remember how it'll highlight the word you searched and show you. Or if it didn't have the perfect result, how it'll say show results that have to contain this word.
Yeah.
That AI is not doing that. It's taking you at your word and it's searching the whole internet essentially.
It's taking those 3 hours you would have spent parsing articles and it's doing it for you.
The first page of Google is 10-ish web page. Actually, it's like an infinite scroll now, but it's taking all 10 of those pages, reading them for you and summarizing for you.
Hey, anybody hate these lazy kids? Because this next one you'll love.
43% of Gen Z now start product discovery on TikTok, YouTube, or AI chat tools, not Google.
I'm actually going to take back that statement because Gen Z is the least lazy generation I've seen in ever. That's why Nate, the camera guy's in here, working with his 9 arms. Gen Z says, this is stupid. I don't have time to waste on this.
Yeah.
They have a extremely high filter for what is worth their time and what is not worth their time and how they can natively use technology. Like they were born little Inspector Gadgets and they can just, go ChatGPT and tell me this before I have to waste weeks or months or hours on a YouTube video learning it.
Yep.
That's why, that's how they start their product discovery. That's not one thing they use. That's they don't even reach for Google. They go, that's Dad's old rusty tool.
Yep.
Fun. We're going straight to GPT.
Fun trick. We did the road trip to Florida. Said, hey, I've got kids. One of them's a baby. We need to stop every 2 to 3 hours. Give me great stops along the way. Planned out our entire itinerary.
Wow.
ChatGPT did, and it was brilliant.
Cheat GPT for the win.
Yep. So,
hey, AI generated answers. Stat number 3. Influence buying decisions for 61% of users who interact with them. So they're taking it to the bank.
Yep.
I want to say that the most trusted form of advertising back in the days when I kind of knew this data off cuff was obviously referrals from a friend. It was 90-something% of people did that. Then there was traditional media like newspapers, and then search was just closely behind that, but it wasn't that high. It was in the 40s or 50%. So people are trusting GPT inherently and quickly,
which is interesting because it can't be bought. That is the key here. At the moment, there are no ads inside of these GPTs. And so you can't cheat the system. You can't run paid AI ads to land at the top of these search results. They are agnostic. They look at the internet as a whole, and unless you apply these principles we're going to talk about later, you lose.
Somebody asked me the other day, do you think this will go the way of Google? And I'm like, man, I would be really, really shocked if any AI platform let ads into it. Definitely on a paid version.
Yeah.
I guess I could see the ad-supported model becoming a thing later. Like your Quoras and your Reddits and stuff like that. Those are being supported by ads, and at one point they were almost all organic. So I can see that happening. So GPT takes over Google's spot, and they you could have a premium version, which we have, right? And then, but if you're just any everyday person, you might be limited to the amount of searches.
I don't think they dilute the search. We're just speculating right now. I don't think they dilute the search any more than
Definitely
they just
not.
put display ads on the side of it or something like
that. But think about that and the trust factor, because while you have to be extremely trusting of the technology and to kind of have your own experience with it being useful, there's no scent of it being skewed.
Yeah.
And so
it didn't sell out.
It didn't sell out
to the man,
yet.
you know?
Yeah. We'll see.
So 58% of consumers say AI recommendations feel more relevant than traditional search engine results. That's from HubSpot.
Probably because they're summarizing it. And then lastly, websites optimized for AI-driven search, which is what we're going to talk about today. For example, structured answers, schema, FAQs, see up to a 35% increase in organic visibility across these platforms. And the inverse there is that you are losing traffic if you're not doing this. We've already seen it in some of our websites that are in the highly competitive spaces and weren't necessarily investing in this type of optimization. Just a quick housekeeping note. It has always been Caleb and I's position that if you build a really good website and you were in a medium to low competitive category and you just do a really good job on your site, a lot of this fancy SEO stuff that gets sold to you in packages and stuff has been not productive in the past because it really comes down to, is your site fast? Is it built well? Is it structured well?
Does it say the right things?
And so a lot of our clients, and if you're listening, you know this is true, like we always look at SEO and we say, hey, is it time to do something here? Because sometimes in our big cities, we have to do that. We have to create more content.
Yeah.
And when we do that, it's expensive because we do it right. Now, sort of yesterday's SEO is making a case for everybody to need to invest in this. And we have an answer for that at Frank and Maven. We have a way we're doing this, and we're doing it basically on a project basis of saying, let's go in and inject your site with some really friendly AI type stuff. But I want to just point out that there's a shift in how you might actually apply this to your marketing budget. For the first time ever, we may say to most of our clients, like, hey, we may pull a little bit from paid ads, which tend to get the fastest results, and then apply that more to SEO or GEO because that it's actually happening faster.
Yeah.
There's a play for it.
And I think we've had maybe like a negative, some of our past SEO episodes have felt like maybe we turned our nose down on some of the SEO packages
because
sold.
So many people overspend on it.
It's usually the real problem here is it's very often for a small business, maybe less than $1 million or maybe less than $3 million in size. It's very often the first marketing they're sold. It's like, hey, you have a website, now pay me $500 or $1,000 a month to build your SEO. And that's what you're spending your first $1,000 on. The reality is you need business. You need the bills to be paid, and you're in your first 1 to 5 years of business. You need leads, you need business opportunities, and that shows up in a lot of other medias and ways. That's today customer marketing. SEO can be a today media, but it does not show quick results. It's a long play, and it's just not the first place we would tell you to spend that $1,000. Now, once you have your bases covered, yeah, you should definitely have it inside of your plan.
Yep, because you can afford to wait for it to work because it takes a bit.
Yeah.
So, but what I'm seeing is GEO is taking place a little bit faster if you're doing the things we're about to talk about. And without further ado, we're going to go through the 9 things you ought to be doing.
Number 1, focus on topical authority. Okay, so what we're going to do here is you're going to have very tight clusters of content around key themes. So you'll want to go in depth and explain things very, very well because you're giving the AI really strong, specific content to pull from to create an answer for somebody who would be searching or not. They're actually not searching. They're asking.
Yes.
You got to think about the customer at the end of this. They asked a question. It's going to pull from potentially you and a lot of other places. Are you going to have the specific information that helps that person answer their question?
It's in a way, it's running its own Google search and just doing it way, way, way faster, reading the things that you might read as a consumer. But when it shows up to the game, do you have the stuff to answer it the way that it's supposed to be answering as a robot?
Yeah.
Or are you trying to fluff things? And when I saw so many times in the past, and we've always pushed for more clarity than this, but they would be like, how to choose the right roofing company. And then they would be just giving you a bunch of fluff. Well, what you're going to want to do is look for a roofing company who's been in business for at least 10 years. Well, lo and behold, that company's been in business 10 years. And you're going to want to look for one that has maybe 3 locations, multiple locations. And it's like they're just giving you their selling points and they're trying to make it relevant. And the truth is, if you've used blog writing, and we have as well in SEO, there was a period of time where you could write the blog content and it didn't have to be all that helpful. And just by way of word count and by having extra content on your website, you would sort of please the search engine algorithm enough to get you some placement. That is the exact opposite of what you want to do today. And that has shifted literally on a dime. I mean, late last year, there was some real big Google attention to that.
Google has also shifted in this way. It's not just an AI thing. That is a Google shift. It's how quickly, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later as well, but how specific can you be about this? And I think that's a really key thing is, instead of framing your things as kind of this ambiguous third party, you need to frame it as, I am the searcher and I have asked a question. So therefore, make your article essentially the answer to that question.
A good lens is like, what would you tell your grandma if she asked you this question? And so we want people to search for, and this is how we used to do it, we want people to say, well, how should I shop for an estate planning attorney, Mr. Estate Planning Attorney Expert? And it's like, nobody was actually probably searching that. No. They know their own dadgum reasons for shopping a estate planning attorney. They're going to do it their way. So what you want to do instead of writing this big, glorious blog article, how to shop for an estate planning attorney, you want to have pages that talk about exactly what people are looking for, like, what is an estate plan? Can I write my own estate plan? Ooh, that's scary for a law firm to be able to even answer that question. You have to, because people are asking it without you. And you need to answer it and say, probably, yes, and this is what you would have to know, and these are all the steps you'd have to go through, and even teach them how to do it. You can leave a cliffhanger there. How do I avoid probate? That's what people are actually searching for. How to make my own a power of attorney. What does an estate plan cost? This, if you want to be relevant in AI, which is the search engine of the future, you have to be answering these questions legitimately, or just don't expect to have any real estate on that in that search. Because what's happening, by the way, I feel like we need to clarify this. When you ask GPT, it's giving you a summary, and then it has these little links off to the authorities that answer that question for it. Because GPT doesn't know that on its own. It still has to rely on some other website or a set of websites to give you the answers. But if you are the website without the answers, you're the website only with fluff, and you're not answering these things that people are actually punching into GPT or any other AI, you're toast.
It's using logic, not just an algorithm.
Right.
And that's the difference here, is it's using logic. So we're going to talk about remind me to talk about traffic at the end here, because I think it's important.
Nate, the camera guy's got traffic bookmarked.
Yes. So you need to have very specific questions as your what your blog's about. Number 2, optimize for featured snippets and AI summaries. This we've been talking about actually for a little while.
We have,
because even our last SEO blogs that or podcast episodes we've done, you really want to write concise answers at the beginning of the content. So that whole too long didn't read kind of summary, that's not really what you want to do necessarily, but write a paragraph. If you could boil the whole thing down to one answer, which is really what they're looking for.
It's what everybody wants. It's what they've wanted all along, folks.
Give them the short version right at the top. And just say, how much does it cost how much does an estate plan cost? Give me the exact answer. Even if it's a range, give me that answer right away at the top of the page. You can give a bunch of nuance in 500 words for the rest of the page. But give it to me in 100 words at the top.
So the old way, if we were to ask, hey, what does it cost to replace a roof? Would have been like, oh, there are many considerations when estimating the price of your roofing project. You might have said a qualified roofing specialist can examine the damage, talk to you about your material options, and produce a custom quote for your home. And it's like, you didn't really learn anything from that, right?
No.
That's the old way. What you want to do instead now, literally the first words, just shut up and answer the question as asked. Our average roof replacement was $8,764 in 2024. Our average repair ticket was $281, which includes our $75 service fee. You answer questions like that, you are going to rise to the top of every AI answer in your category. And then you might even add stuff according to the National Roofers Alliance. I hope there is one. I just made that up. But the average replacement cost for an asphalt shingle roof is $10,487 nationwide. Like, you are giving them the literal answers so they can, which was the best thing to do all along. It's just some of us were too afraid to do that. And you might even put things like a projected 7% increase in material costs across the roofing industry could affect this in 2025 and beyond. You are going to soar if you start answering it like that.
Yep.
So that's what you'd want to do at the very top of the page, like your own bullet pointed, like, review. And the the robot's going to go out and go, oh gosh, thank you, Billy's Roofers, for doing that for me. They're going to just grab you and say, this one's going in our list. Like, they're still giving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 recommendations. What you're going to want to do after that, again, continuing the theme of no fluff, you want H2 sections for what affects the cost of a roof. Like, start giving all the contextual around the topic type things. This is where you can start being the expert again and kind of giving, maybe some plausible doubt that they can do this on their own and that they do need to reach out to you, but you're doing it in a way that is helping them first and expecting the contact as a byproduct.
Yeah.
So you might have how to know if you need repair or replacement. What's the average lifespan of a roof? Will insurance cover me? Think about this in your category. Could be literally any of them. Just all the questions that probably your front office people or you as the practitioner are getting. Put them on the website and answer.
Yes. Yep.
I did this little quick search. By the way, Google is grabbing this too. So what pleases GPT is pleasing Google. Literally, there's a section when I say how much does a roof cost. And by the way, there was no local companies doing this well.
Yeah.
Okay. Literally gave the answer: $5,700 to $12,000 for a 1,200 square foot roof.
With most homeowners spending around $8,400 on architectural shingles.
Yes.
Yep.
So that's what you want to do.
As
that'll
clear
get
as can
you.
be.
Yep. That's going to get you featured in those featured snippets, which are the same thing that GPT likes to pull.
That and some of the other things we're talking about.
Yes.
Get number 3. Get more reviews and brand mentions. The social signals have been a thing for a very long time. Your website, your brand existing on the internet and people pointing back to you has been a thing since the beginning of SEO, and it is still a thing, even more, I think, with GEO or AIO or EIEIO. Because both Google and all of these GPTs are like trolling the entire internet, and they're looking not just at individual bits of content, but they're looking at where all of the content leads and points. And so if you are the reference point for credible information from several other sites, they're going to view you as more credible than somebody who nobody has ever referenced ever before.
Yes. So your review count still matters, folks. And I'd be focusing on that heavier than I've ever focused on it. Because they are looking, and they're looking at all of them, by the way. But they're also, Google, Facebook, Angie's List, all that stuff where you could have a 5-star rating, that is being taken into account. But also, places like Reddit and places like Quora. Reddit would be more of a local type thing. There are probably local threads in your market. Literally, this used to be like the nerdy, like super, dork forums of the internet, but it's kind of become more relevant than Google in a lot of cases because it's real people giving real answers. And there's probably a subreddit for your town, and people are asking about mechanics and hospitals and doctors and service companies in your town on these big national websites. So you ought to have a profile there. You ought to take some time and just create your own answers to those questions that are being asked.
Help people.
Yeah, that will help a ton in getting at the top of the Google, or sorry, the GPT queries. So that was number 3. Get more reviews and brand mentions, as always. Number 4, align with conversational queries. This is my favorite one. This is probably the most groundbreaking, I would say, thing that most people are not doing. You want to take this one?
You got it.
Okay.
You're excited about it.
So I'm so excited about it. So, what you should have noticed by now is that AI is not using fluff language. It's using real language. It's trying to sound like a human. And so it's paying a lot of attention to the actual structure that people are looking and in the order at which people are asking questions. Keep in mind, all the AI platforms, Gemini, GPT, all of them are reinforming themselves like tens of thousands of times every minute as to what somebody else in another town has searched and what's going on in this topic. So you need to be obsessed with, okay, if they ask this, what else are they going to ask? And so this conversational query, and you can almost use your own logic to say, well, what would I be asking if I were them?
Why are they asking this
Why
question?
are they asking that, right? And so there's a really great tool called alsoasked.com. And you can literally just go in and put your search engine query. And so if I put in here, how much does it cost to replace a roof in Missouri? It literally spits out the top 15 other things that people are searching. How much should I expect to pay for a new roof? Does insurance cover a new roof? What is the cheapest way to replace a new roof? How to negotiate the price of a new roof? How much does it cost to replace a 1,000 square foot roof? Guys, these should be pages on your website, or at least FAQ sections on an FAQ page. You literally take these questions that this service, and by the way, Google does the same thing. They have the little people also ask box that pops up on basically every search.
Yeah.
You need to be writing pages and answers to those questions because that's what's happening. That's how you become a conversation. And that's how the modern robots know if you are real or fake and if you're helpful.
Yeah.
So quick way to do it would be just Google something and go look for the 5 or 6 questions that pop up and the people also ask. That's a very good modeling of what they're also talking about. And then if you want to get deeper, go to alsoasked.com. You won't be surprised to see what's on there, but you will be surprised to see how much you haven't been answering those questions. You will be a little bit embarrassed and go, "Dadgummit, this is easier than I thought." Just give the people what they want. So, summary for point number 4 is align with conversational queries and just answer all the questions. Build stuff around the page.
Yeah. Number 5, add more detailed, structured product and service pages. So we want to make sure that our service pages or your product pages are going in depth. They're not generic. It's just same as these blogs we were talking about. But if you, I'm trying to think of a different example of a company. We've talked about roofers and we've talked about attorneys. But let's say it's that estate planning page. If it's very generic, if it could literally, the copy of it, if we replaced your name and it could go on a different website across town, and it's all pretty much the same, then you haven't been specific enough or detailed enough because it doesn't, it's not just about you. And so you need to make sure you list the benefits, all the specs, the features, all the comparison, and especially answer some frequently asked questions. I'm getting those mixed up.
I'd put, how long is your consult time?
Yeah.
What exactly do you get? Here's something that the GEO engine is doing that Google didn't really. They are comparing all of the details that they can find about you to the other places, and it will give a little summary of, it even did this for Frank and Maven. And I was like, I didn't know we specialized in that, I didn't know we had that on our website, but they inferred all these little details about our service, and they pulled in reviews from what other people had said about us online, some we hadn't even seen. And so the more you can put and say, well, our free consultation is a full hour and a half, and that's with a certified attorney, not an actual or not a paralegal. And, you leave with these 5 things, and just giving the actual details. If it's a product that you're selling, you want every technical spec you can possibly find on it. You want key benefits, an outline of key benefits of this product versus another one. Comparison shopping is what GPT is going to do better than anything has ever done before.
Yep.
And if you don't have the details for them to compare to, you're going to get left off the list.
Yeah. So more detail on your product and service pages.
If it's a service company, by the way, I think you put really detailed parts about your warranty in there, what we cover and what we don't.
Yep.
So
that's good.
Number 6, go for it.
Embed first-party data and expertise. So share your own statistics, customer data, surveys, or case studies. AI wants, we've said the word specific. I think I've said that about 10 times since we started.
Specific about that.
Since we started recording this episode. If there's nothing you take away from this, it is be specific. Be more specific. And AI values originality and like specific insight.
Yeah.
Google last year rolled out major changes throughout the middle of the year, and will continue to do that. But they are basically, discrediting anything that's not quality and not original. And how do you be original? You have to be specific. You have to be unique to you. And so if everything on your website is a regurgitation of
something else,
if you, by the way, this is why I would be careful about having AI write your web pages. I think it can help you write your web pages. But unless you give it specifics, it's interesting. AI will respond like a human. It'll respond in the language that you speak. But as soon as you tell it to write, it actually does use fluff.
It uses fluff and finds it's trying to.
Do you know why it uses
blend
fluff?
everything else together? Because it doesn't.
It's because it's reading all those old articles.
That's right.
And it thinks that's what you want. I'm writing a blog for, like, if you give it that kind of prompt, I'm writing a blog for my website for a roofing company, and it's like, write one with this thing, and you don't give it anything else.
Yeah.
It will be a fluffy blog because that's what it sees the rest of the internet doing.
Yeah. AI is maybe has original summaries, but does not have original ideas.
Yeah.
Or facts.
It
does not exist as a human.
Until you help it have that. But all that to say, be specific, be original, and have case studies. Those are things that nobody else can do.
Be
so
specific. Be more specific.
Yeah. So we on a lot of our home improvement websites, we've had like completed work, completed jobs. We've had specific individual pages. So not always just like a gallery, like here's a bunch of pictures, but literally we went to the Welch house and replaced 12 triple paned vinyl windows on their craftsman home of, with black trim and white grids, and it's very, very specific in Springfield, Missouri.
Low emissivity coating. Yeah.
You mention everything about it. As much as you can. And that's so specific because that job happened one time and it's got pictures.
Yes.
It mentions the city that it's in. It mentions all of those things. Those kinds of posts, I think we've had tremendous value in the past with SEO, but I think they'll continue to have value going forward with GEO. So,
yeah. And all the better if you can put real reviews linked to those actual experiences or products. So like you might do the case study. If you are, I don't know, let's just say you're a payroll company. You do a case study of how you saved them 43 hours a month on their payroll, and you increased employee satisfaction by 23% and all of that stuff. And then you are actually putting a video with an embedded transcript about that.
Yeah, about Sherry's experience with A+.
Exactly.
And
Yep. So case studies sound like how we saved one family $82,000 in taxes. Podcasts might be like, I don't know, how to make your business rank on ChatGPT.
Hey.
Customer surveys, like if you found the emerging trends, our most the 5 most popular colors for siding in 2025, that would be like crack for GPT. And all you have to do is send out an email to like, I don't know, 20 of your customers and say, what color siding do you like right now? And then you got yourself a survey and a case study, right?
Yep.
The insights, right? That is really, really powerful if you can put legs to that. So that's embed first-party data and expertise. Number 7, optimize for multi-platform discovery. Sounds fancy.
Fancy.
We won't spend a ton of time on this because this is in the category of like what you should be doing anyway. But when GPT sees you, and I'm saying GPT, I mean all the others too, but when it sees you with content on YouTube, maybe a page on Pinterest, maybe some posts on LinkedIn with your brand, podcast transcripts on your website, and they see like it all syndicated in the same way, it takes that as a signal. Now, and that's kind of unique because Google is used for as long as I've been in the game, what they call no-follow links. And so somebody who was really prolific on social media didn't really get an SEO boost from that directly. I think GPT is taking that as a little bit more of a direct indication. It doesn't care.
Yeah. Google's the one who created all these rules for SEO because they were the leaders. So they dictated all of this, like what's a good link I can follow, what's a repeated page, canonical links. Like if you have the same page on your website 2 times, Google created this whole ecosystem. to help their algorithm
Mm.
because they wanted to help you help their algorithm.
Yes,
AI doesn't care. It looks at all of it and makes its own decisions,
that's right.
which is crazy to think
Because
about.
what it does know is more what you actually want. Because guess what? Guess what GPT is doing better than anything else? It's looking at the last 3 months of what you've been thinking. That should scare you, but it should also be like, oh, wow, that's
Mhm.
what's happening to my business. And you want to do something super creepy. If you've used GPT or probably any of the tools, but definitely GPT does this, ask it, say, hey, tell me about me in 500 words, and it will write you an astonishingly creepy description of who you are, what you think, what you believe, what you care about, how you work, and it'll be on the kind side of things.
Yeah.
It probably won't say you're probably a narcissist and
Yeah.
you obviously have
Yeah.
ugly hair. But it's going to give you it knows what you're doing, and so it's weaving that into what you want to see. So what Caleb searches in AI probably gets a different result than what I search.
Mhm.
Now, some of the authorities in the same topics may pop up on the list, but
Yeah.
it's going to give him a different summary than me because
That's
it knows how he
something
rolls.
you should do just for fun. Have it tell you about your business.
Mm.
That's what we did for Frank and Maven. Like, tell me about the marketing agency Frank and Maven, and then just see what it says. And
It was pretty wild.
It was pretty interesting how it made conclusions about our business. Not exactly how we'd say what we do, but it was pretty close to accurate.
To an outsider looking in, it would have been accurate.
Yeah. And it's also telling because then you're like, oh, this is how people see us. Maybe we should adjust how we talk about ourselves.
Yes.
To that.
Speaking of that, tactic number 8 is you need to keep updated and fresh content. Keep in mind, GPT is looking at the entire internet history of you.
Mm-hmm.
And one, you want it to be accurate. There are things you do and there are ways you show up in the world that you didn't used to. And so you need to make sure that the old stuff is gone, but the new stuff is frequent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going into the mode of like, somebody needs to be generating content for you very regularly. Like there was a time that there was like kind of do some of it and then let it coast. I think we're going into a season where we've got to have regular people contributing to this content. And frankly, like on our end of things, we are geared up to do that now because it's a need that we see that wasn't as big a need before.
Yeah.
And so, you can get an agency to do it if they understand you well, or a third-party writer, or if you've got a good writer in your office.
Yeah.
Him or her plus somebody who's skilled enough to structure this and build it into your website in the right way, because it's part writing and it's also part technical implementation on the site.
Yeah.
But you need to have fresh stuff. Speaking of that,
which leads us to number 9 and the final one. All the old SEO tactics still apply. As far as all those things I told you Google kind of invented, they didn't invent HTML. They didn't invent that.
But they did invent how to read it.
They
billions of pages. Yeah.
And so structure your page. Make sure your page title at the top of the page is a strong H1, the first heading, and then it's kind of like when you were in school, you did the 3-point paragraphs and you had very specific, like my second point is this. So your title is your H1, then your H2s are maybe your secondary headings. And then if you go deeper than that, which we're kind of advocating that you probably don't on most pages, you're going down to H3, H4, and it's just a tiered structure. It's like bullet points.
Like your outlines for high school or college papers.
Yep. Make sure you're using FAQ schema. You can, so schema is a fancy way of saying a schema is like actually like the structure, the makeup, the way something is built. And so like a schema of a database is like, has all these, it's got names over here. It's got email addresses over here and how it all interacts with itself. The schema on your website, you're telling Google how you've structured this page. And there are schema snippets you can include on the page. Not just you have an FAQ section, but there's also, you can set separately in your heading and in other places on the site, you can say, I have FAQs on this page. Here is the question. Here's the answer. And you can tell it all of these things. You can do that with how-tos.
You're probably hiring a nerd to do that.
That's nerdy stuff. There are also tools that can help you with some of these things.
WordPress puts you in a good spot to do that.
Yeah, there are like plugins or different things that could maybe help you with that. But make sure, or if you have like e-commerce, that your product schema is set up really well, that it knows the schema tells it, hey, this is the featured image. Hey, this is the price. Hey, this is the product title. Hey, this is the description.
Yep.
And that way it's not just random text on the page that happens to be the title or the price. It is, hey, Google, this is the price. Hey, Google, this is the description.
Yep.
So use all of that. Make sure you get the concise answers.
We did this preemptively. We kind of saw this coming. We have a client who's in a very, very high-end jewelry business. And frankly, they don't really need to compete locally with SEO. They just have they have such a strong brand.
Mm-hmm.
But they were like, hey, this other company, we're paying them a pile of money a year, and is it doing us any good? And we're like, no, it's not. Like they were buying the SEO package that a lot of you probably are buying, which is
a blog a month or something.
A blog a month, or hey, we'll check your keywords, or we'll write meta description. It's like, you know what? That is so old, and that is not even. It's not even helpful in the algorithms anymore.
Yeah, it should be done. It's a box that should be checked
because it's for user experience.
But by the way, when you have, I don't know, even if you have a big website, 100 pages on your site, once you've written 100 meta descriptions, that's done.
Yes,
it's over. So
that's right.
Unless you
have some new marketing angle or some promotion or something.
Unless you added 10 new pages, then you've got 10 more meta descriptions to write. Like
do it while you write the page.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of like no dust stuff. So if you got a nerd like, taking a pound of flesh out of you every month, or even a few $100, that's probably a sign it's not working because they're not thinking about the stuff we're talking about now. But we had a client that did this, late last year, and we did like 50 of these pages, like all this type of stuff we're talking about. The people also ask, the contextual, really conversational type snippets. We put a lot of detail to it. We were really specific. And literally for the entire intranet. Now this is a company that is based, in the Midwest, not at all a national company.
They're actually in a suburb, like a small town with, 50,000?
Yes,
not even 50,000.
Yeah,
people.
Suburb. Yeah,
yeah.
So, but they are literally ranking for the entire internet.
Yeah,
their local jeweler site is an authority because of the way we wrote this content. Now, will it always be? Probably not, because somebody else that's a bigger website and frankly cares more about that is going to, outrun them on a national scene. But they will very likely be the local authority for a long, long, long time.
Yeah.
Partly because they're first, but also partly because we just did it really well.
And they did the work to answer the questions.
They did the work to answer the questions, and they were willing to tell you what their hourly cost is for the jeweler, behind the jeweler bench. And they
customized jewelry and all that stuff. Yep.
So the takeaway is that there's time for you to be first to the game. And wouldn't we have all loved to have been first to the Google game, 20 years ago? Wouldn't we have all loved to have discovered Bitcoin? Well, this is your holy grail moment of like, I can level up here, and it's not terribly expensive. I mean, if you have any decent ad budget, you can sliver something out, and this can go to that. You want to find an expert, like good writing, and somebody who is really, really objectively not inside your business, so that they know how to say, oh, but the person's probably thinking this. That they're going to keep you from fluffing and BSing and doing crappy fluff writing. Yeah. You need somebody like that.
They need to call you out too. They have to be able to shoot straight and say, nope, that's not specific enough.
Nope, you're trying to hide it.
Tell me more.
Tell me exactly what. Yeah. Tell me what the nail actually costs. Right?
Yeah.
So we've used estate planning and roofing. Those are just really easy examples to grab because everybody gets them. But this literally applies to everything you do. We're doing this on our own website for the record, and we don't even.
We don't really need
to because we don't. Yeah, we don't. That's not how we usually get business.
Yeah, what we want actually is for this podcast to help more people. That's why we do it.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, is we want to help answer these questions about marketing, so that because there's a lot of marketing fluff out there, if we can help people get down to the nitty gritty, the actual answers, then we've done our job too. So,
yes, we have.
And hopefully that's your motive at the end of the day. Obviously, you got a business, you have to grow, you have to get customers, you have to pay the bills. But even if you're on the East Coast and you help somebody in Washington, solve, get a clear answer on their estate plan, or how they're, how like the right questions to ask a roofer, or how to claim insurance, or whatever that might be, you've done a good job. And by the way, you've increased your authority. You've helped build a reputation.
Yeah. Why do we want this podcast to reach more people, Caleb? Like what are we doing?
Well, because Frank and Maven exists to create a world where entrepreneurs can confidently grow their business without wasting money on advertising. And that really comes from Brandon's story and the story we've seen from a lot of entrepreneurs, which is they've spent thousands and thousands of dollars not knowing whether or not it works, not knowing whether or not it's helping to grow their business. Is my business just growing on accident because I do good work, or is it growing because this marketing is actually drawing people to me? And
which leads them to compromise their ability to impact more people in their community and their workforce and their family, all of the things.
Yeah, you could I'd rather you save the money on that you would spend on marketing and give everybody a raise. Like, that's
absolutely
that's
we would rather that.
Yeah.
That's why we eliminate waste.
Yes.
We keep the stuff that's good, that's going to allow you to do more, and we eliminate the waste for the other stuff. Did you know people will spend 94 more times under the roof of the small business they work for than they will at their own church?
Mm-hmm. I did know that.
You did know that.
Sean Copeland.
Yeah, Sean Copeland taught Caleb and I both that. Wonderful book called 94X about what happens when you bring God into your business. But think about our responsibility, even if you don't take it to the analogy of the church, our responsibility to do more, have more, grow more, build more. And it is tough. The higher you go, the steeper the climb. But that is why we're here. That's why this podcast matters to us. That is the vision we have for the world, is that entrepreneurs would not only thrive and survive through all the headwinds and highs and lows, but what we would step into our calling and our purpose to bring more impact to people. And that's how we're doing that with this podcast. We are seeing that permeate through the people we get to serve directly, and then through you indirectly. And we just love hearing your growth stories. I'm going to leave you with something I read from Robert Louis Stevenson. And this is very relevant to GEO as well as it is to business and life. And that is, don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds you plant. We'll be back here every Monday doing our best to plant seeds, and we can't wait to see and hear more about the ones you are planting. And that is why we're here, because marketers who can't teach you why
are just a fancy lie.
Have a great week.